Hello there, and welcome to the tour of the multiple variants of the Argentavis multi-purpose transport craft, the 7th vehicle in my military utility logistics or transport vehicles series. My name is Wimperman, and I am the chief designer, chief builder, chief architect, and chief dumbass behind the Argentavis MPTC. So, let's take you around this vehicle, although there is some important information first before I start. So, just like the other military utility logistics or transport vehicles, there's an important piece of information about their power and their shields. Just like the other vehicles in the series, I have added 2 generators. Oh, I think it's actually 2 large and a small on this one. To the same switch, the same device toggle switch that does the shields and the weapons. So if you use your keyboard keybind to turn your shields on and off, the shields won't have enough power to charge, and as far as I know, that'll make the generators go bang. Now, I will talk about that a little bit more in the power segment and in the shields segment. And I'll talk at the end about how to fix it if you don't like it. So, let's turn my HUD back on. Now, I have... there isn't really an original vehicle, but it is based on something, and I have some pictures to show you. So here we have the Intersolar System cargo vehicle and its armoured personnel carrier variant from a old sci-fi TV series from the 90s called Space Above and Beyond. Now, both the ISSCV and the fighter, the SA-43 Hammerhead Endo-Exo Atmospheric Attack Jet, are among my favourite sci-fi spaceships of all times. Now, as you can see, it's only based on this. It's not a accurate replica. For example, this has 4 wings, whereas the actual ISSCV only has 2. But you can sort of see it is sort of there-ish, sort of. Now, those of you who are good at maths will recognise that there are 4 ships here, but there's only actually 3 on the workshop. Now, I will explain real quick that these 3 that are on the workshop are all the exact same vehicle, this one, with a module in the middle, and it's only the module that changes. Oh, apart from the medical variant, someone has gone round with someone has gone round with a texture and color tool and slapped a few medical symbols on it. But beyond those, the only differences between these are all in the modules. Now, I was going to put the no module version on the workshop as well. I couldn't really justify having 4 versions of it. If anyone does want the one without the module in the middle, maybe you want to build your own module, or maybe you could underslung, or you can you can carry some HVs underslung in here, maybe. If it comes to that, you'd need to cover this up, because this is actually covered up by the back wall of the module, but whatever. But yeah, let me know either in the comments below the video, or in the comments below the workshop items that you would like this. I mean, I'm sure many of you can figure out how to take one of these with the module and just rip the module out, actually. But this is actually ready to go. This was going to go on the workshop. All the maths on the LCD screens are correct for this version. I have even done a thumbnail, because I was that close to publishing it. But I decided not to since then, but it is ready to go if anyone wants it. Now, as I talk about these vehicles, I will be talking about this one unless the others differ, is how I'm going to do this tour. But I'm now going to take you through the roles and task equipments, which means I am going to go through the 3 variants. So the first variant on the workshop is the cargo variant, or rather the Argentavis with a cargo module in the middle. And in order to facilitate its cargo carrying roll, it has an additional 2 32 KSU cargo containers in the module. The next one that has the personnel module has a module that carries personnel, 24 seats in there. And the last variant is the medical variant that has a medical module in the middle. Now it doesn't technically come with any medical equipment. However, there is a little HV that I put on the workshop as well that you can spawn and drive in and dock, and then you have medical equipment in there. I will cover that later when I get to the interior layout bit. So there you go. Those are the 3 variants and how they accomplish their roles. I didn't want to show you too much because that'll give away, some stuff from the interior layout. So we will get there eventually. So then, the end of that segment, the next segment is their propulsion, handling, and lift capacity. Now, like I said, I'm going to talk about the version without the module, and if the module comes with any of this stuff, I will let you know. So, propulsion, starting with its forward thrust. So they all have 12 large and 4 medium tier 2 thrusters. They're all tier 2 thrusters, large and small. As you can see, there's some on the backs of the pods. There's a couple under the wing joints, a couple in the nacelles on top, and then some at the back. For braking and reverse, we have 6 large tier 2s and 4 medium tier 2s. Basically the same places, except it's obviously missing the ones that would be on the stern, because obviously the cockpit is there. So there you go, some there, some in the front of the nacelles. Lateral thrust, we have 5 large tier 2s and 5 medium tier 2s. There are 2 large and 2 medium, no, hang on, there is 1 large and 2 medium in each pod. I sort of switched between going on each side and each pod then, that's why I don't know. And as you can see, there's also some along the side of the main body as well. Down, it has 12 medium tier 2 thrusters, 3 on each pod. And again, those who are good at maths, 4 times 3 is 12. There are 3 kinds of people in this world. Those that can count and those that can't. Now, it's lift thrusters. So generally speaking, these are all the same. So for default lift, they have 10 large and 4 medium tier 2 thrusters. Again, they're all tier 2s. So as you can see, there's some on the bottom of the pods. Yeah. And then max lift, they have 6 large tier 2 thrusters. These are all along the body, 3 on each side. Now the only difference between the modules is that the cargo module comes with these medium jet thrusters, but other than that they're all the same, and these are set to max lift on this vehicle as well. Okay, so speaking of its lift, or their lift, actually, I don't need this one now. I need this one. So, with max lift off, the cargo variant, or at least the Argentavis with the cargo module, that's how I'm going to try and say it from now on. The Argentavis with the cargo module can operate in 2.8G or up to 2.8G. The Argentavis with the personnel module can operate up to 3.2 Gs, and the Argentavis with the medical module can also operate up to 3.2 Gs. Now bear in mind that that's all dry weight, that's not counting all the stuff you would have in the ammo boxes and the cargo boxes and the cargo containers and the cargo and the containers and stuff. Now, max lift on, however, no, this one. So with max lift on, the cargo, for God's sake, the Argentavis with the cargo module can lift 284.5 tons in 4G. The Argentavis with the personnel module can lift 178.4 tons in 4G, and the medical variant is the same. See, I keep doing that. Argentavis with the medical module can lift the same, 178.4 tons in 4G. Right, as for their mobilities, they are going to be slightly different based on the distribution of their weights. So, the Argentavis with the cargo module, yeah, I got it right. Oh, hang on. Turn the thrusters on. Cargo, yeah. So, we have 28 meters per second squared acceleration in the forward direction and 19 for braking and reverse. Lateral is 18 meters per second squared. Then we have 28 meters per second squared lift with max lift off, 16 downwards, and then its agility is 20 degrees yaw, 23 degrees pitch, and 47 degrees roll. With max lift on, the upward acceleration does increase quite a lot, as so does the roll. 66 meters per second squared upwards and 54 degrees per second roll. Right, the Argentavis with the personnel module, that's what I'm doing. 32 forwards, 22 reverse, 21 sideways is 32 up and 19 down. 21 yaw, so it's slightly more agile. 23 pitch and 48 roll. Oh, do you want to see max lift? It doesn't change a lot. It changes a bit. Oh, hang on. I need to actually turn propulsion, etc. on, don't I? So there we go. It's 48 upwards and 51 roll now. Instead of that. And then the Argentavis with the medical module, I'm pretty sure is about the same. It looks the same. I mean, the thrusters are the same. Like I said, the weight distribution might be a little bit different, but generally speaking, it's the same. If you want to see it with max lift on, there we go. Now, how they handle. I will give them all a test flight. I will, of course, have the timestamps in the description so you can move around at your will, but if you would like to see how they fly, so I'm going to fly them in atmosphere and up in space. So this will take a minute or two. So thrusters are on, I do believe. Yeah. Okay, so here's how the cargo handles. Now, don't expect an F-22, because it's not going to be. So, the real-world equivalent for these would be an a V-22 Osprey, or maybe a CH-47 Chinook, or maybe even a C-130 Hercules. Now, as you can tell, they're not brilliant. I am struggling. This is with pilot mode off, obviously. Pilot mode on. There we go. It's a bit better. Now, I could cheat because my mouse has variable DPI settings, but I won't. So there you go. This is how it sort of flies. With max lift off. Okay, now let's go into space and see how it flies up there. Actually, I'll do a proper... Oh, the max speed, by the way, is 70 apparently, and I'm doing 55 because I'm pointing straight up, I guess. And then out of atmosphere, it's 109. So it's a bit quicker, but it's no more agile. So there you go. But then, like I said, it's not a fighter. It's a, a transport craft. So there you go. Right, I'm going to fly back down and land and take one of the other ones up. I mean, this one has the cargo module attached, so it is going to be the worst of the three. Alright then, coming into land now. It's not going to be perfect, so don't expect it to be. As I'm sure you can guess, the best thrusters are on the bottom, so stopping is going to be easier by pitching up. Right. So the next one is the Argentavis with the personnel module. This is going to be slightly better. Oops. So there we go. Yeah, definitely better to fly. I mean, I'm still struggling with the mouse, but it's better. Again, it'll be better with pilot mode on. Much better. Okay, let's take her up into space. Oh, max speed 70. I'm doing 69, 67-ish. So yeah, max speed is about right. It's only because I've pitched up. Here we are in space, max speed of 128. So there you go, this is sort of how it handles. Okay, let's take it back down and bring up the medical version. Oh, do you know what? Actually, I'm not going to do the medical version because it's going to handle much like this one. It's a very similar weight, same thrusters and stuff. So I'll just fly back down and land. Rightio, pitch up, yeah, slow me down a bit, there we go. Excuse me, I pressed the button, thank you. Alright, there you go. That's sort of how they handle. They're not brilliant, but you know, they're quite big and heavy, especially for SVs. So there we go. Right, that's the end of that segment then. So the next segment is their power, fuel, and air. Now I'm going to talk about the no module one again. So their power is exactly the same as this one. They have 6 large and 1 small generators. Let me just check that for a second, actually. Yes. 6 large and 1 small. So, as I said at the beginning, 2 of the large and the 1 small power generator is set to the same device toggle switch that turns the shields and weapons on. So if you use your keybind, everything will explode. So please avoid that. Again, I'll talk at the end about how to fix it if you don't like it. Now, another 2 large generators will also come on with the propulsion, etc. switch. So when all the thrusters are on, they have their own dedicated power, which leaves 2 large generators on by default. And of course, they will come on and turn off when you use your power keybind, which I believe is default for Y. It certainly is for me. I don't know if that is the default or not. And of course, the power switch under the general column. Fuel. Oh, and yeah, no, I did say they were all the same. Fuel. Again, they are all the same. So they all have 15 large and 4 small fuel tanks. In fact, you can see some of them under here. In fact, you can see the 4 small fuel tanks. That's where they are. There is a little bit of fuel elsewhere, but that's mostly where those are. Now, the O2 is where they get different. So the actual main vehicle itself, with no module, has 13 O2 tanks. You can see 5 of them there. There are 2 vents. No, there's not. There's 3 vents. Sorry, I read the wrong bit on my notes. 3 vents. I didn't say this, did I? I will show you where all this is when we go to the interior layout. But for now, I'm just going to tell you that it has them. So there are 3 vents, and the ship itself has been broke up into 3 compartments. There's the airlock, the cockpit, and a toilet. Yes, I am that kind of guy. The toilet is, of course, RP fluff that does nothing. It's just decoration, but it has one. And there is also 2 O2 stations. Now, here's where they differ slightly. This one is the same because there's nothing extra in the cargo module other than the 2 extra lift thrusters and the cargo containers. It does have landing pads, but that doesn't count either. So, the personnel has an extra 10 O2 tanks because, I mean, in lore, in universe, if it could carry 24 people, that's a lot of people to be breathing O2. So it has an extra 10. It has an additional 2 vents, an extra O2 station, and obviously the module is its own compartment. And then the medical compartment, well, that only has 4 additional O2 tanks. It just won't be carrying as many people. 2 air vents to keep it ventilated. 2 O2 stations, and of course it is its own compartment. So there we go. That's the end of that segment. So the next segment then is their weapons, defenses, and construction. Now, these are all going to be basically the same. So, weapons, it has the maximum allowed of 6. No. Yes, 6 Gatling turrets. So I thought I had 8 on here for a second. So, the 6 Gatling turrets, which is the maximum allowed, are set to what I consider my point defense configuration. So they will target NPCs, players, and predators, as well as drones. They are all the same. Defenses, they all have a shield. So I should have mentioned the pentaxid tank. Now, as I said in the beginning and the power bit, but just in case you missed it, if you use the keybind to turn the shields on and off, the generators won't be able to power it and things will go bang. So you will have to use the shields and weapons device group toggle, and that will turn on enough generators to power the shields. It is sort of armoured, sort of. So it is made almost entirely out of hardened steel. There is some steel on it, but it's usually where it doesn't really matter. So this stuff is steel. It's not really protecting stuff. Stuff around the thrusters is hardened. Now, the slight difference is on the modules. So the modules have a hardened steel frame only, and then the rest is all just steel. There is a small amount of armor in the back because the generators are in the back, and I've given you some lag shot armor. Can we see it? Yes. So there we go. We got some slopes so that if any shots lag through these blocks, they'll hit these blocks rather than going through them as well. And I do believe that's hardened steel too. Yeah. But there isn't a lot of armor on that. As for carbon composite, there isn't a lot on these, and I think the bits there is. So these, I call these orientation panels, illuminated orientation panels. They will allow you to see which way round the ship is when you can't see the lights. Oh yeah, it does have lights. Don't worry, we'll get to them. So Aye, the little decorative bits are carbon, but everything else is either hardened steel or steel. So I think that's the end of that, really. There's not much to talk about. Oh, apart from the windows, they are the armoured windows. There we go, that'll do. Oh, no. They each have a Gatling gun in the nose. There you go. So, yeah, one thing I forgot. Right, that's the end of that segment. So the next segment then is their resource gathering, production and storage. Well, resource gathering, they have none. Production. So they all have a constructor in the cockpit. Again, I will show you where it is when we actually get to the interior, but for now I'll just tell you. The medical module does have another constructor in it as well. So the medical variant has 2, the rest have 1 constructor. Storage. So they all have a 2.5k SU ammo container, and they all have a 32k cargo container in the back, which is there in this back compartment. And they all have a 1,125 cargo container under the constructor in the cockpit. They also all have 2 armor lockers, 2 mini fridges, and assorted boxes. It wasn't really worth listing them, certainly not in the tour. Too many to count, but there are quite a few cargo boxes. Now, the difference. The Argentavis with the cargo module, as I said at the beginning, has 2 more 32k SU cargo containers. The Argentavis with the personnel module has an additional 2 armor lockers and 1 small cargo box per seat. There you go, you can just see them up there. So there are 24 seats and therefore 24 extra small cargo boxes. Additional small cargo boxes. And the medical module has 2 extra mini fridges than the vehicle without the module. Right, that's the end of that segment. So the next segment is going to be their interior layouts and any remaining devices. So before I go in, I will do the any remaining devices on the outside. Now, I'm not going to bother talking about the stuff that will be covered in the signals and shortcuts. So don't worry if you see stuff like the lights and I don't mention it. However, I will mention, so these vehicles are compliant with my regulation lighting regulations. So, as you can see, there's some slow pulsing white lights on them. Those are running lights. They let any observer know that the ship is powered. Yeah. So there is also some registry displays on them. Now, you are, of course, free to ignore these and just leave them with the number symbols. You can, of course, multi-tool them off, get rid of them. That's perfectly fine. You are also free to replace the number symbols with a number that means something to you. Now, they are supposed to keep track, actually, of each one. How do I word this? They're supposed to be in numerical order. It's a registry number, just like any other registry on a Star Trek ship or, any real-world naval ship. Now, if you can be bothered, and it is entirely up to you, no one will know if you don't. But if you would like to keep track of what ship yours is, so if you have a look at all 3 variants on the workshop and you count and you add up all of the subscribers and then you add 1 for yourself, yours should be that number. Again, it doesn't matter. If you would like to do it, that would be cool, but no one's got a gun to your head. So that's that. Now, I'm sure some of you noticed the detector is there under a little bit of hardened steel for protection. The Wi-Fi is under this lump. Let's see if I can get in. Yeah, there you go. There's the Wi-Fi. Now, I will show you where this is later on, but I might as well since it's part of the interior. The core is under this bigger lump. The shield is under this even bigger lump. No, it's not. It's the warp drive under here, sorry. I knew it was one of the pentaxid things. And there is some of the other fuel tanks, by the way. Oh, I have done some testing with this. I fired at it with the debug rocket launcher. And I am fairly happy with how I've managed to prevent it from chain reacting. So when things explode at the back, they don't chain react all along, which is nice. I mean, I would have preferred these to have had some combat steel, but, you know, it's not allowed. Oh, in these shutter doors is the LCD display for the registry numbers across the nacelle, by the way. And as you can see, the full registry is down here on the side of the cockpit. And if in case anyone cares, this is Wimper Manufacturing, a multi-purpose transport craft of the Military Utility Logistics Transport Vehicles series. It's the 7th in that series, and then this vehicle would be, you know, if it's the first, 001, you know, if it's the 17th, 017, 1701. Anything else to show you on the outside? Yes, I suppose I can show you the doors. Right, so this is going to be the same on all of them. Port cargo access. So in here is access to the rear 32 KSU cargo container. Now there is a matching oh, and as you can tell, the shutter and that light is on a sensor. The sensor is there, in case you care, behind that thruster. Now, the door matching on the other side is similar. Again, motion sensor, same place. Light and the shutter is on it. Starboard storage compartment. So here you have access to a fuel tank if you want to access them manually. The pentaxid tank and a few cargo boxes are in this one. I'm actually going to go into the cargo one first. The Argentavis with the cargo module. Actually, since I'm here, there is the access to the rear 32 KSU container in the module. Yep. Oh, the amount of fuel in the Argentavis with the cargo module is the same as the others. If you're worried about fuel running out, if you take up some of these blocks and you dig around in here, there is some empty space between the two cargo containers that you could put fuel in, just in case you would like to. Yeah. Now, I'm sure you guessed there's also another 32 KSU container in the front of the module, but we access that from the airlock. So now let's go in and have a look. Ramp light is on a motion sensor. In fact, the motion sensor is in the same place as the ones at the back. Can we get a go slow button? There, behind the thruster. Moan. Oh, the light green light. The light that is light green as opposed to not light green. Dark. It's not dark. It's a light that's light. So that indicates the ingress point, by the way, or an ingress point. I do this with basically all of my SVs. I mean, there will be some little shuttlecraft that probably don't need it, but there you go. That's what the little green light there means. The door is not on a motion sensor. You have to operate the external doors yourself. An O2 tank, an O2 station, and then more O2 tanks. One of the ventilators. A sign that lets you know on which side you would be exiting. And the little light red light, the light that is light red, not a dark red, it's a light. So that indicates an egress point. There is also Chief Dumbass. There is also a helmet warning on the floor. Another one here for the module, or for this module anyway. The Ooh, the projector is actually on top of that container extension there. So that sign is part of the module. So there's access to the 32K SU container in the front of the module. Couple more boxes. These 3 boxes here are part of the module. The 2 boxes on either side are part of the ship. Now, as I'm sure you can tell, that's... Oh, you probably can't actually. There we go. Let's do that. That's a glass door, which isn't normally airtight. So I have force field emitters above the door. Now, what that means is that when you step here, it's no longer oxygenated. It's no longer oh, is it because I'm in... I think it's because I'm in an atmosphere, isn't it? In space, it's not. Right. Let's move forward to the cockpit. Again, these 2 doors are on a motion sensor. One of those. One does the lights in here, and one does the doors. I don't remember which one it is, but it doesn't really matter. So here we have a head. Now, the fact that there's a head in the cockpit means that this is a slightly longer range cargo vehicle. So it's not so long range that it can provide crew with a place to sleep, but it's long range enough that when they need to do their wee-wees, they got somewhere to do their wee-wees. Okay? So, manual door, make-believe pretend toilet. It is oxygenated in here, and that light is on that sensor. All that for an RP little cubbyhole. On this side, we have the 1125 container below the constructor, and 2 mini fridges. And then just forward of that, the 2 armor lockers and 2 small cargo boxes. And then we have the 2 pilot seats. Well, yes, hang on. Yeah, stuff it. So this is the pilot and this is the co-pilot. I have labeled them that way in the devices. However, I've given you one on each side because for those of you who like to drive on the left-hand side, can do so. Of course, I is British in it, so I drive from this seat. Oh, and I did a little bit of research, and by that, of course, I mean a 30-second Google search. Quite a few helicopters, so I know for a fact that the UH-1 Huey and the UH-60 Black Hawk, I think that's its number, they're piloted from the right. I'm pretty sure, although I could be wrong, that the V-22 Osprey is also piloted from the right. But again, I could be wrong. Now, we have a lot of LCDs, and normally this would lead me on to the signals and shortcuts, but it won't this time because I have 2 more modules to show you. But here we have some LCD work. So here we have the various toggleables, the device group toggleables and the signal toggleables. Oh! No, I'll cover that when I get to it. We have its lift performance, so that tells you how much it weighs, the ship, and how much more it can carry in each of these environments with max lift both off and on. And these are mirrored on the other side as well. There's a... Why has that changed? So, because these were built in space, I didn't notice that. Right, give me a second to resave and redo the thumbnails. Okay, quick thumbnail check. Yes, 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 and missed. Yes. Okay, good. Now, where were we? Yes, that's it, other than the other modules. Right. So here we go, the personnel module. The door, the ramp, and the lights, one there, and then one on each side of the door on the bottom, are on a motion sensor, that one there. The other door is the same. Lights in here, also motion sensor. There is also a lever to leave them on for when you get into a seat. There you go. 2 armor lockers and O2 station on the back wall. Not really much. I did play around, actually, with popping other toilets in here for the passengers. But I sort of realised that these vehicles in the game never go anywhere outside of a single star system. And since we can get around within a single star system in minutes, no one should be in these seats long enough that they can't wait until they land to go to toilet. So I ended up not doing it. The crew, on the other hand, although they might take, 10, 20 minutes to go from destination to destination, that still doesn't mean that they might not be in the ship for 8, 10, 12 hours at a time. So they get a toilet. Right, a box above each seat. There's the ventilators. The O2 tanks are above them. Oh, gravity. I haven't been talking about the gravity. So they all have artificial gravity. So the artificial gravity... I forgot this bit. Right, cockpit. The ammo box is in the ceiling of the cockpit. There is the ventilator in the cockpit there. Obviously that one is there as well, but that's the main one. That one just does the airlock. It just happens to come through, as it were, and I wasn't worried about it. Now, the gravity generator in here, in fact, you can just make it out through the ventilator cowling things. There you go. So that's in the cockpit. Now, the cargo, or the Argentavis with the cargo module, only has that one. The other two has 2 in the modules, and they are actually sat on top of the ventilators. There's the ventilator, there's the gravity. Small one. Not the smallest, it's the next one up, but there you go. This door is on a sensor. That one. And this is where the module connects to the ship. And this is where the 4 small cargo boxes, 2 on each side, are that I showed you in the other one. So there we go. Right, now this one is going to take a little bit longer, so I do apologise. What's going on? What's going on? So here is the Argentavis with the medical module. As you can see, the port side has 3 shutters. Stop doing that. And the starboard side, ignore that for now, has 1 and a window and a blank wall. So, we go in through the side. We have 2 sort of bed things. I mean, they're sort of meant to be reminiscent of stretchers, kind of. I mean, the actual reason this one is further towards the shutter than this one is because when you bring that in to get it there, it would clip on it if it wasn't moved forwards by 1 block, so that's why. But I think by moving it forward 1 block, it gives it the idea that these are movable. So we have a medic/corpsman seat for if there's someone here who really needs to be looked after properly. And then on this side next to this shutter is sort of a consultation seat. So I sort of figure that if there was like an air show, like Fairford, RIAT, the Royal International Air Tattoo, for example, you might have a couple of these dotted around the airfield to, give first aid out to any of the people there watching the show. So I thought it would be nice to have somewhere where you can sit and chat and go, look, Doc, I hurt my elbow, that kind of shit. Can you plaster my knee? As in a Band-Aid plaster, not a plaster cast plaster. Right, these shutters, all of them, they are all on a motion sensor, and it's the motion sensors that are above them. Okay. And the ramps and the lights as well. Is there lights? Yes, on the bottom. You just saw it there. There you go. Now, as you can see, there is also a lever. So, you can have them all open. This is obviously RP stuff. Yeah, so they're all open. Now, this one is where you need to bring in the insert, the medical insert. So, since everything else is the same, and other than this stuff, we've now looked around in here fairly decently. Oh! No, I can talk about that later, that's fine. So, what I'm going to do now is delete this and then drive that one into here to show you how it's done. Now, it is easier in space. I would recommend you do it in space. I feel fairly confident that it is possible to do on a planet, at least a 1G planet. It might get harder on a higher G. I haven't actually tried it, but I'm going to do it anyway. So, I'm going to remove this one. There we go, all done. I'm going to get rid of all of this. Oh, I probably shouldn't have gotten rid of some of that. Never mind. Rightio then, there we go. That's cleared out the way. Now, this is linked on the workshop at the top of the page for the medical variant. Now, I will give you a quick look round. It's a bit wonky because of how it's built. But I'm sure you can figure out how this is built if I just give you a quick look around. It's not exactly complicated. That cargo container there, by the way, is an 875 SU-1, but it's not technically part of the ship, so I haven't included it in any of the stats. So we have the medical station and the clone chamber with docking pads on the back of all of it. The core block is there. Now, I'm pretty sure you don't need power in order to respawn and heal. If you do, I will probably fix it so that the generator is there and the fuel is here under the medic station. But I'm not entirely sure, and again, I'm too lazy to check. But here we go. I'm going to drive around. So I'm going to use the Align with Playfield button. I'm going to go round to the other side. Can I get it up a little bit? That's what she said. Okay, I'm going to go to the third person view. Now, you do need to flick the switch to hold that shutter open. Okay, now I'm going to lower it as much as I can. And I got it in. Good, goody. Okay, so here's where it gets a little bit complicated because you want it to be flush. No. Backwards, sideways, sideways. Okay, so let's do that. I'm going to lower it as far as I can. Doesn't seem to want to go any lower. Good. I'm going to come out of that view and then I'm going to W and A, so forward and left, right into the corner and hold them down until it docks, and that should dock flush against each wall. It didn't, did it? Did it? No. Made me out to be a liar. That looks a bit more lined up. Okay. Is that it? Is that it? Are we done? We done? We done? I think we're done. So there you go. So either subscribe to my little Argentavis medical insert on the workshop, or build it yourself if you like. I mean, of course, you could do something else with that space because it comes like that. Now, obviously, you would need to use a multi-tool. Actually, I might as well. I mean, I picked up the other stuff with the multi-tool. So all the red bits, you delete them, and ta-da! You now have an SV with a medical bit in it. Hurrah! Right, I'm pretty sure that is now everything. Oh, the lights have a lever as well as a sensor in here as well. Again, for sitting in seats. Rightio, I think that's the end of that segment, because I can't think if there's anything else to show you. detector, Wi-Fi I've shown you already. I mean, docking pads, it has a lot. Do you need to know about them? Right, so I think I'm actually going to move on now to the shortcuts and signals segment. Now, I will explain first. So with SVs, I do the signals and the shortcuts slightly different. So I have a set order in which the toggles are, the names. So basically, every ship will have signals in the same place. So for example, nav lights should always be the 4th signal down, even if, like this one, there is nothing else in 2 and 3. I do that so that people can learn. Although, now that I think about it, if that's the reason, I really ought to have done it with the HVs as well. But I didn't. So that's why there are gaps, by the way, in case you're wondering. So other things would go there. I won't bother looking because I can't be bothered. Yep, that's a circular argument. So, starting with the device groups, as usual, the first one is propulsion, etc. That will turn on all of the default thrusters, not the ones that I referred to earlier as max lift, obviously. It will also turn on 2 large generators, and it will turn on, like I said earlier, this is lighting regulation compliant. There we go. So it'll also turn on some anti-collision beacons. There's a red one on top and a yellow one on bottom over there. There we go. Max lift will of course turn on the max lift thrusters. Now on all of the versions it does the same apart from this one, which also has, as I pointed out earlier, the extra jet medium jet thrusters, jet thrusters. Weapons and shields. So as I said before, but just in case you missed it, if you use the keybind to turn the shields on, there won't be enough power and the generators will explode. If you use this switch, however, it'll turn on the shields, 2 large and a small generator, which is enough power to power the shields alone. So the shields is 3,600, and 2 large generators are a 3,000. They're at 1,500 each, and a small is 750. So you get 150 extra power. As you can also tell, it turns on all of the turrets and the little Gatling gun on the nose. Custom 4 does nothing. Again, placeholder. Artificial gravity. So if you want to walk around in space, you can flick that switch and it will turn on the artificial gravity generators. Again, the cargo has only the one above the cockpit, but the other 2 with walkable modules have 2 in the modules as well. So that'll turn the gravity on. Production will turn on and off the constructors. So these 2 only have the constructor in the cockpit. This one has an additional one in the module, and it'll turn that one on and off as well. Why do I keep going back to that one? It doesn't matter. So, the air vents switch. Now, just in case you haven't seen a tour of mine, this is the first one you've seen, I will explain this, but for those who have seen it, I will try to explain it quickly so they don't have to sit through it all again for a long time. So if we have a look at power left and we turn oxygen off, the power left doesn't change because although it doesn't blow any more oxygen into the compartments, it doesn't actually turn the ventilator off. Whoops, no, I want to leave it off. However, if we turn the air vents off and look at the power left, it will change. So you can save some fuel if you're in a breathable atmosphere, like this one. Right, the custom signals. The first one, as usual, is power save. Now, I have got an LCD in the heads-up display that tells you everything it does, but it turns on and it turns off the Wi-Fi. the little light green lights on the outside. Ooh, does it turn the little red lights off as well? It should. No, it doesn't. They're on just a normal light sensor. Okay, cool. So there we go. It'll turn off any passenger seats, the Wi-Fi, like I said, the registry displays. So these, it'll turn those off. What else? Is that everything? Passenger seats I've already mentioned. Can we please get a look? Oh yeah, and all the motion sensors and levers. So it'll turn them off. Oh, and all these HUDs, actually. It'll turn the LCD projectors off as well. It'll do that with all of them, obviously. So the next signal down that's actually in use is the nav lights. Now, I would have liked this to have been automatic, and certainly the flight strobes. So the navigation lights are the red, green, and white lights that you see on aircraft that don't flash, obviously. So red is not right, it's left. So on the left is red. And if red is not right, then green is right. So we have green down the starboard side. The white light is on the stern, as is usual with aircraft and ships. Again, there are also illuminated orientation panels for when they can't be seen. You can still sort of get an idea. Yellow, by the way, is ventral. Obviously, red is port, green is starboard, and white is aft, the same as the actual lights. The flight strobes are the blinking bright ones that you see on the wingtips of aircraft. So they warn any observer that the vehicle is in motion, is the point. So did I say what the hazard beacons were for? No. So you turn the hazard beacons on when the vehicle is capable of moving to warn any observer that it might move at any moment. Kind of doesn't really make a lot of sense, even in real world, why they're still on when they're flying. Because any observer would be what, thousands of feet below, looking up at a bright light, thinking, "Oh, thank God I can see that light because I know that that plane is moving now." Yeah, there you go. Right, so and then like I said, the flashy ones, these blinking ones, tell you that it is moving, not that it could move. It is moving. Headlights. It has two of them, two spotlights, one on each side of the cockpit. It doesn't have any tail lights because that's a HV thing. You'll be happy to know. Right then, the closed doors. So like I said, these are manual. They're not on a sensor. These are manual too. No, they're not. They're on a sensor. What are Oh, these. So if you accidentally leave those open, I wanted you to give a way to close them when you notice from the cockpit seat. So you just flick it on and it'll close them, and it'll only close them. It won't open them again. Right, I think that's the end of that segment, thankfully. The next and last segment then is their CPU and upgrading. So the CPU, they're all going to be slightly different. They're all tier 4 CPU, I'm sure you guessed. Now, if you want to see where the bits are, I didn't show you the extenders, did I? Or the shield. So the core is under this big lump here, protected by some hardened steel. The shield is behind the ammo container, along with the CPU extenders that are in the top here. Now, yes, they are close to this turret. Again, I have fired some debug rockets at this thing, blowing up that turret. Although it will destroy some of the blocks, it doesn't destroy the shields and the CPU. However, I don't actually know how powerful the debug rocket launcher is compared to some of the AI weapons. For all I know, it's piddly and weak. The other thing, of course, is that once that turret is destroyed, the enemy turrets firing at you quite often take a little while before they'll target something else. So it's still possible that shots might come in through the hole now left. But there you go, that's all here. It is relatively protected. So CPUs. So the Argentavis with the cargo module is 74,000 and just under 200 of the 100,000. The Argentavis with the personnel module is 64,700 and 70 something out of the 100. And then this one is roughly the same, 66,200 and some change. So there you go. Upgrading. So, as I said, the Argentavis, as I said earlier, the Argentavis with the cargo module has a little bit of free space in between the two 32K containers that are in the module. You could put extra generators and fuel or whatnot in here. You can't really do much else with it. Other than that, there is no upgrade path. There is a little bit of space in the nacelles if you want to do something else. Not much. Now, that doesn't mean you can't personalize them. For example, you could rip out the seats and the cargo boxes in here and turn this into a bit of a mobile camper van-y type mobile base type thing. You could do whatever you wanted in here. Of course, you could rip the module out entirely, as I was saying when I was asking if you wanted this version on the workshop as well. You could take the module out completely, and you could use this to carry around vehicles that have a docking pad on their top, for example. But other than personalization, there isn't really anything else you can do. One of the things you might want to do, if you don't care about the RP fluff of the toilet, you could, of course, tear this out and put a cargo box in it, maybe. Right then, now I'm going to talk about how to fix the whole shields and power situation, as promised at the beginning. I will show you how to fix it, although, as I've said in previous MULTV tour videos, chances are 99.9% of people actually can do it without even being shown. But it's very, very simple. You go to the devices page of the control panel and you're looking for the power shields device group, and you simply move the 3 generators that are in that group to the power main group. Done. And now, when you turn on and off the vehicle with the power switch or with the keybind, it'll turn all 5 of them on, and you won't need to worry about accidentally turning the shields on with a keybind and blowing everything up. So there you go, that's how it's done. Oh, and of course there are the generators in the power propulsion bit as well. So if you don't like the fact that those generators come on when you use the propulsion etc. thing, you can, of course, change that. Ooh. Oh yeah, because it's empty. Right. One last thing to show you, and that is, of course, their paint jobs. Oh yeah, so there are 4 colors, and I got 4 here. That's kind of funny. So it comes, the palette comes with 4 primary colors that you can choose from. Now, anyone who has seen some of the HVs of the MULTV series, these are actually different colors. The first 2 and the last one are similar, but they're not actually the same. So they all come, as you can tell, in this khaki tan color. And then there is a there's a the HVs is military green. This is a camouflage green. And I used a color picker thing to tell me that was camouflage green, by the way, or at least. So give me a sec. So this is the website I sort of used to pick the colors, sort of. Now that camouflage green is based on this camouflage green. However, 120, 134, 107. $120, 134, 107, was it? yeah. So that on that ship there is that 120, 134, 107. That is what that looks like when all you do is copy the RGB numbers. So basically what I had to do was paint it a green that I thought was close, and then literally just sit here going, no, a bit darker, no, a bit lighter, no, a bit darker. Yep. So there you go. But that is as close as I can really get it without spending hours on it to the camouflage green. We also have a light blue grey, which is very nice in my opinion. And I was very tempted to even save it as that as the default colour and put it on the workshop as that. So I can prove it's ever so slightly blue because it's 118 of them. And then we have a slightly blue dark grey. Yes, and it looks pretty good in that as well. And that's supposed to be more like an F-22 or an F-15 or a C-17 Globemaster. I can never remember whether the Globemaster is the C-17 or the C-5, or whether the Galaxy is the C-5. I think the Galaxy is the smaller number. But anyway, whatever. So there you go. It comes with those 4 colours that you can pick from. Yes, I do like that grey. I do really like that grey. And like I said, I was tempted to save it as that by default. But I do like the khaki tan as well. Anyway, there is one last thing to do before I let you go, and it's something I normally do with new builds, and that is to publish them on camera. Right, that's the cargo one. Medical. Yep. Oh. Okay, good. And then the personnel. There we go. And just so I don't forget it, because I know if I don't do this now, I will. The medical insert for the medical module of that one. Right there, and I'm going to turn these back to their default khaki tan. There we go. Right, so that'll be the end of this very long tour. I apologise, but there was a lot to talk about, I felt. So thank you very much for taking an interest in at least one of the Argentavis. I hope you get some use out of one of them, and hopefully I will see you in another video for a different build. So thank you again, and goodbye.